Thank you for joining us today. Can you start by telling us a little about your background before your extraordinary experience? Of course. My name is Claire, I'm 38 years old, and I work as a wildlife photographer based in Montana. About 8 months ago, I had an experience that changed my entire understanding of life, death, and the world beyond. I had a heart attack while hiking in a remote area, and for a few minutes, I was clinically dead. What I experienced in those moments is something that will stay with me forever. That sounds intense. Can you walk us through what happened on that day? It was one of those perfect autumn mornings. I was out on a solo hike in Glacier National Park, hoping to capture some shots of the wildlife as the first snow began to dust the mountains. I've always loved that sense of solitude, being surrounded by nature. But as I was about 3 miles into the trail, I started feeling this strange, sharp pain in my chest. At first, I thought maybe it was just exhaustion or the cold air, but then it intensified. I collapsed there on the trail, unable to move. Later, I found out that I had a severe, undiagnosed arrhythmia. My heart simply stopped beating. That must have been terrifying. Did you lose consciousness immediately? Yes, the pain was overwhelming, and everything faded away so quickly. I remember the sudden quiet after I fell, and then everything just went black. The strange thing is, I felt no fear in those moments. What happened next, though, is something I still struggle to describe. I found myself hovering above my body, looking down at myself lying there on the trail. I could see my backpack, my camera scattered on the ground, the snow gently falling around me, but I felt completely detached from it all. Almost curious in a calm way. You said you felt detached. What happened after that? It's hard to explain in earthly terms, but I was suddenly drawn toward this overwhelming light, warmer and brighter than anything I've ever seen, yet it didn't hurt my eyes. It felt as though it was gently pulling me in, like an embrace you've waited your whole life for. As I moved closer, the landscape around me changed. It wasn't Glacier National Park anymore. It was this stunning, open space filled with fields of golden light and trees that shimmered as if they were alive with music. And then there was a figure standing in the light. It was Jesus. I just knew it in my heart, even though I had never seen him before. There was no introduction needed. His presence was unmistakable. That sounds absolutely breathtaking. What happened when you saw him? He smiled at me, and the love that radiated from him was beyond anything I had ever felt. Imagine being completely known, flaws and all, yet totally loved and accepted. It was overwhelming in the best way possible. He reached out his hand and said, "It's not your time yet, Claire. There's still more for you to do on earth." I remember feeling a sense of bittersweetness, knowing that I had to leave this beautiful place, but he promised me that I wasn't leaving without first glimpsing what lies ahead for those who follow him. That's when everything around us shifted. Shifted? Can you describe what you saw next? Yes, in an instant, I was transported to what can only be described as a city, but unlike any city we know. There were buildings of translucent gold, towers that seemed to reach into the heavens, and rivers so clear they sparkled like liquid diamonds. The air itself felt alive, full of joy and music. But the colors, that's what stunned me the most. The trees, the flowers, even the ground seemed to glow with colors I couldn't name, like they were made of light. It was beyond beautiful. There was no shadow, no darkness anywhere. The sky was not blue, but a vibrant spectrum of hues I've never seen before. That sounds indescribable. Did Jesus explain what this place was? He did. He walked with me through these fields of light, showing me different parts of this incredible place. He explained that this was only a small part of heaven, just a glimpse. He told me that heaven is not a distant, faraway place as some imagine, but it's intricately connected to earth. The beauty I was seeing was only a fraction of what is to come. Jesus also shared that in heaven, we have perfect, renewed bodies. There's no sickness, no pain. Our senses are sharper, and we can experience the fullness of everything. It's like the best version of life, without any of the limitations we experience here. That's amazing. Did you meet anyone there? I did. One of the most emotional moments for me was seeing my younger brother, Evan, who had died in a car accident when I was 17. He was standing there, looking as vibrant and full of life as ever, but he was different, stronger, brighter. It was like he had grown into the person he was always meant to be. The moment we saw each other, we embraced, and it felt as though all the years of pain and loss just melted away. Jesus told me that in heaven, we are reunited with our loved ones, and will recognize them not just by their appearance, but by the essence of who they are. That must have been such a powerful reunion. Were there others around? Absolutely. There were people everywhere, all of them joyful, laughing, and sharing stories. It was like one giant, eternal family reunion. I saw groups gathered around, speaking with figures from the Bible, Moses, Ruth, Peter. It was incredible. They weren't distant, holy figures. They were approachable, laughing, teaching, sharing their experiences. I also saw people of different cultures and times all gathered together. There were no divisions, no misunderstandings. It was pure harmony and love. It sounds like heaven is full of life and activity. What else did Jesus show you? That's one of the things that surprised me the most. Heaven is so vibrant and dynamic. Jesus showed me people building and creating together, using materials I couldn't even identify. The structures they were working on were magnificent, unlike anything we've ever seen on earth. Jesus explained that in heaven, we are free to create, to express ourselves fully, without any of the burdens or limitations we face here. People were painting with colors that didn't exist on earth, composing music that seemed to come alive in the air, and sculpting beautiful landscapes. But the most amazing part was that everything they created was done in perfect unity with one another and with God. There was no competition, no stress, just the joy of creating together. That's incredible. It really challenges some of the common perceptions people have about heaven. Did you see any animals or nature there? Oh, yes. The animals were one of the most surprising and heartwarming parts of the experience. There were all kinds of creatures, lions, elephants, birds of every kind, and animals I couldn't even recognize. But what struck me was how peaceful everything was. I saw a young boy playing with a lion, laughing as it nuzzled him like a kitten. There was no fear, no sense of predator and prey. It was like the original harmony of creation had been restored. I even saw animals from the oceans, dolphins swimming in the rivers of light, and people riding on their backs. The animals were not only part of the beauty of heaven, but seemed to share in the joy and peace of it all. That's such a beautiful image. Did Jesus explain anything about the connection between heaven and earth? Yes, and this was a really important part of what he showed me. Jesus told me that heaven and earth are more connected than we realize. He showed me people in heaven praying for their loved ones on earth, watching over them, and actively participating in God's work of redemption. Heaven isn't some far-off place where we just sit and wait. Those who are there are still deeply involved in what's happening on earth. Their prayers are powerful, and they are cheering us on as we continue our journey here. I also saw preparations being made for the day when heaven and earth will be fully united, a future time when all creation will be restored and made new. That's fascinating. It sounds like there's so much purpose and meaning even after we leave this life. How has this experience changed your life now that you're back? It's changed everything. I no longer fear death. I used to have so many questions about what happens after we die, but now I have this deep sense of peace and anticipation. I know that death isn't the end. It's just a doorway into something far greater. I also look at people differently now. Everyone I meet, I see them as an eternal soul, someone God loves deeply. It makes me more patient, more compassionate. Even the little annoyances in life don't seem to bother me as much because I know they pale in comparison to the joy and beauty that awaits us. That's such a powerful perspective. For those who might be skeptical about near-death experiences, what would you say? I totally understand the skepticism. If you had asked me about this before it happened, I probably would have been skeptical too. But I can only share what I know, and what I experienced was more real than anything I've known on this earth. There are so many accounts of people from all walks of life, all over the world, who have had similar experiences. I'd encourage anyone to at least explore the possibility with an open heart. At the very least, ask the questions. And if you're open to it, invite Jesus into the conversation. I believe he will reveal the truth to those who seek it. That's great advice. You mentioned earlier that worship in heaven is different than we experience here. Can you share more about that? Worship in heaven is so much more than just singing or attending a service like we do here on earth. It's woven into the very fabric of life there. Everything in heaven, every action, every moment, feels like an act of worship. It's as though all creation is continually aware of God's presence and responds with joy and gratitude. Jesus showed me massive gatherings where people from every nation, every time period, were all together, praising God in perfect unity. The music was unlike anything I've ever heard, beautiful, complex, yet somehow pure and simple at the same time. The sound itself seemed to fill the air, like every note was alive. Colors swirled through the sky as people worshipped, and it wasn't just singing. I saw artists painting, dancers expressing their joy, even scientists and explorers worshiping God through discovery. Everything in heaven glorifies God. It's like the very act of living is worship. That's so different from what most people imagine when they think of worship. It sounds like there's endless creativity and joy. Can you tell us more about that? Absolutely. In heaven, creativity is fully unleashed beyond anything we can imagine here. I saw people painting with colors that don't even exist on earth, composing music that felt like it was part of the very air, and building structures that seemed alive with light. But it wasn't just about art. Every form of creativity was celebrated. I saw engineers designing things we could never dream of, architects creating new landscapes, and writers penning stories that seemed to leap off the page, and everyone was collaborating, working together in perfect harmony. There was no competition, no jealousy, only joy in creating something beautiful together. It sounds like heaven is a place of constant growth and discovery. What did Jesus tell you about how people spend their time in heaven? Yes, growth and discovery are at the heart of heaven. Jesus showed me that in heaven, we will never stop learning or experiencing new things. Our minds will be so much sharper, so much more capable of understanding the mysteries of the universe. I saw people exploring distant galaxies, traveling to places we can't even comprehend now. Jesus explained that heaven is a place where we will continue to grow in our knowledge of God and His creation for eternity. There are endless realms to explore, new dimensions of beauty and wonder, and the most amazing part is that every new discovery leads to a deeper understanding and love of God. That's incredible. Did Jesus share anything with you about relationships in heaven? Yes, and this was one of the most beautiful parts of the experience. Relationships in heaven are so much deeper, more meaningful than anything we experience here. There's no misunderstanding, no conflict, no jealousy. Every interaction is filled with perfect love and understanding. I saw people from different cultures and time periods, all gathered together, sharing stories and laughing. The connection between everyone was so deep and genuine. I saw families reunited, friends embracing, and people meeting others they had never known on earth, but who were instantly connected through their shared love for God. There's an incredible sense of belonging. Jesus explained that in heaven, we'll have eternity to build and strengthen these relationships, not just with each other, but also with Him and God the Father. I even saw people in deep conversation with God Himself, asking questions, sharing their hearts, and receiving wisdom directly from Him. It sounds like everything in heaven is so vibrant and full of life. Did you see any specific activities or roles that people have there? Yes, Jesus explained that everyone in heaven has a purpose, a role that is perfectly suited to who they are and what they love. I saw people working on incredible projects, building cities, designing landscapes, even creating new worlds. But it didn't feel like work as we know it on earth. There was no stress, no deadlines, only joy and fulfillment. Jesus told me that our earthly lives prepare us for our heavenly roles. The talents, passions, and experiences we develop here will be used in heaven in ways we can't even imagine now. I also saw people being sent on missions to explore other parts of the universe, discovering new realms, and bringing God's light to places we don't even know exist. There's this sense that in heaven, we're all part of something much bigger than ourselves, and every role, every task is meaningful and contributes to the beauty and harmony of God's kingdom. That's such a profound thought, that our lives here are preparing us for something greater in heaven. How has that perspective changed the way you live your life now? It's changed everything. Knowing that what we do here has eternal significance has given me a new sense of purpose. I wake up each day with a desire to live in a way that reflects the beauty and love of heaven. I've become more patient, more forgiving, because I know that the people I meet every day are eternal souls, and the way I treat them matters. I also find myself less attached to material things. Don't get me wrong, I still enjoy the good things in life, but I hold them loosely now, knowing that the joy and beauty of heaven far surpass anything we can experience here. Most importantly, my relationship with Jesus has deepened. I want to know him more, love him more, and share his love with others. Every act of kindness, every moment of worship, every step of faith, these things ripple into eternity. That's truly inspiring. For those who may be skeptical or uncertain about the afterlife, what would you say to them? I would say, don't be afraid to ask questions or explore. It's natural to have doubts, especially about something as mysterious as life after death. But there are so many stories from people all over the world who have experienced something similar. I would encourage anyone who's curious or skeptical to read about near-death experiences, explore different perspectives, and most importantly, reach out to Jesus. You don't have to have a near-death experience to know him, or to have assurance about what comes after this life. He's as close as a prayer. Just ask him to reveal himself to you, and I believe he will. That's wonderful advice. As we come to the end of this conversation, is there anything else you'd like to share about your experience, or the message you want people to take away from it? Yes, I think the most important thing I want to emphasize is that everything in heaven revolves around our relationship with Jesus. The beauty, the joy, the peace, the creativity, it all flows from being in perfect communion with him. Heaven isn't just a place, it's being fully connected to the source of all life and love. Jesus made it clear to me that the door to heaven is open to everyone, but it's through him. His love, his sacrifice, it's what makes heaven possible. I want everyone to know that this isn't just a nice story or a comforting thought. It's real, and it's available to anyone who seeks him. Jesus is inviting everyone to experience this incredible, eternal life with him. All you have to do is open your heart to him. Thank you, Claire, for sharing your incredible journey with us. Your story is truly inspiring and offers so much hope and perspective. I'm sure our viewers have been deeply moved by your experience. Thank you for having me. It's been a privilege to share my story. I hope that everyone who hears it will feel encouraged to seek a deeper relationship with Jesus and experience the love and joy that he offers, both in this life and in the life to come.